Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty interesting.
Hmm.
It's what a lot of top performers, especially golfers, kind of see as their secret weapon.
Their edge.
Exactly. And the really cool part is it's an edge that anyone listening that you can actually develop.
Yeah, it's accessible.
It really is. And what's fascinating when you look at the sources is how our brains work. They just love routines. I mean, we all know routines save energy, right? Free up brain space.
Sure, efficiency.
But it's more than that. It's how this basic human thing, this, tendency we barely notice, like when you drive home and suddenly you're there, no memory of the actual journey.
Right, that autopilot mode.
Yeah,
Huh.
how that can be consciously used for, well, peak performance
Hmm.
on the golf course or really anywhere.
And that autopilot thing, like you said, it's efficient, but it can work against you too.
How so?
Well, think about it. You step up to a big shot, pressure's on, and suddenly your swing just feels off, clunky, disconnected.
Yeah, I've been there.
We all have. And chances are you've just slipped into a bad routine, an unhelpful one, unconsciously, just like zoning out on that drive.
Ah, okay. So it's not about being a robot.
Not at all. No, the goal isn't robotic repetition. It's building a reliable framework, mental and physical, that, sets you up right consistently.
Mental consistency.
Yeah.
That's interesting because people focus so much on the mechanics, the physical swing.
Exactly. We obsess over practice swings, mechanics on the range, but then the mental side gets ignored. Routines are just as much about mental focus, giving your brain a shortcut, really, to confidence,
Hmm.
especially when you're feeling the heat.
Okay, so pre-shot routines make sense. But here's something surprising we found in the research. Routines aren't just for before the shot. They're maybe even more powerful after a bad one.
That's absolutely right. That's a key insight. There's this expert suggestion, right? After a really poor swing,
Hmm.
you immediately reset, and you take the swing you meant to take.
Huh.
Yeah.
Just redo it right there.
Yeah. And it's not just to, make yourself feel better. There's actual neuroscience behind it.
Okay, break that down.
Well, think of your brain wiring itself like paths in a forest. A bad swing makes a faint little trail for that mistake.
Right.
By immediately making the swing you wanted the good swing, you're basically carving a deeper, stronger path right next to it. You're telling your brain, hey, this is the one. This is the memory to keep.
So you're overriding the bad memory or competing with it.
More like reinforcing the preferred one. You're actively training your nervous system saying, this is the default I want. It's a bit like physical therapy, retraining muscle memory.
Wow.
And if you add things like controlled breathing, specific movements into that immediate redo swing.
It reinforces it even more.
Exactly. Embeds it deeper.
That rewiring idea is powerful. So it's less about pretending the bad shot didn't happen.
Right. You can't erase it.
And more about consciously building the right memory, like straight away.
Precisely. It's active neural re-education. You de-emphasize the negative by immediately reinforcing the positive. The brain's flexible,
Wow.
plastic. Quick, intentional repetition works.
And you see this with the greats, don't you? I mean, Jack Nicklaus, he always talked about his routine being crucial.
Absolutely legendary for it.
Yeah, there's that quote, he said it was plain willpower. Something like, you just have to force other thoughts aside. Think only about aim, alignment, ball position, posture.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again and again, even when it's not working, until it does. That's it right there, isn't it? That
Yeah.
focus, that deliberate repetition.
That's the essence, forcing thoughts aside. And what Nicklaus showed is how that routine becomes your lifeline under pressure.
Your anchor.
Exactly. Your anchor in the storm. It's familiar. It grounds you, keeps you focused when maybe everything else feels like chaos. It is your secret weapon when the stakes are high.
It's clearly huge for golf. But, what's really exciting is thinking beyond the course. These ideas, this power of routine.
Yeah.
It applies everywhere, right? This isn't just about golf swings. It's building mental muscle for resilience in anything.
Totally. Think about work. You mess up a presentation or a project hits a snag.
Right. Instead of just stewing.
You could apply this. Do a quick mental reset. Maybe visualize the right way or take one immediate corrective action. You're actively overriding that negative imprint, training your brain to bounce forward.
So it builds discipline, awareness,
Yeah,
intention. Not just in sport, but in how you handle setbacks generally.
absolutely. And it really starts with, self-awareness. That's the foundation.
Okay, so for someone listening, where do they begin? How do you build this awareness?
The first step, maybe the most important, is just to observe. Pay attention to what you already do Before a shot, yeah, but also after.
What are your automatic reactions?
Exactly. Are you rushing? Do you get caught in those negative thought spirals after a mistake or, after a difficult conversation at work?
Notice the pattern first.
Once you see your patterns, then you can start tweaking. Maybe it's just slowing down, taking one deep breath, maybe visualizing something positive, or consciously reframing how you react to a miss.
That's probably different for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. There's no magic formula, no one-size-fits-all routine. You have to experiment and build your version of success, what feels right and works for you.
Okay, practical advice then. Start small.
Definitely. Don't try to, change everything overnight. That's overwhelming.
Right.
Pick one tiny thing. Maybe it's just focusing on your grip for a second longer, or your stance, or, like we said, that single breath before you swing.
Or that 30-second reset after a tough call.
For example. And then consistency. That's the real secret ingredient here.
Just keep doing it.
Keep doing it. The more you repeat that small, intentional action, the deeper it gets wired in. It becomes second nature. Muscle memory for your mind, like you said earlier.
And under pressure.
That's when it really pays off. Your routine becomes even more critical then. It's your rock, your game plan. It keeps you steady, feeling confident, feeling in control, even when things get intense.
And the long-term effects.
Well, the ripple effect is pretty significant. Over time, you see improvements not just in your score or your work performance, but actually in your overall enjoyment, your resilience, how you handle challenges generally.
So let's leave people with a thought then, a challenge maybe.
Okay.
If you, listening right now, could change just one thing about your routine today, maybe pre-shot, post-shot, pre-meeting, post-meeting, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Doesn't have to be huge, right?
Just intentional.
Exactly. Even the smallest deliberate shift can start to change your mindset, boost your confidence, and ultimately improve your performance. So our advice, get out there, play around with these ideas.
Experiment.
Reflect on what you're doing now, and honestly, have some fun with it. You never know, that tiny little change you decide to make, it really could be the key to your next big breakthrough.